Hello viewers, myself Dr. Pavan Kumar. I'm an associate professor of pediatrics at MNR Medical College and consultant pediatrician at Omega Clinics and Rainbow Children's Hospital, Hyderabad. So today we are on behalf of Heartfulness Wellness Initiative, which is a part of Heartfulness Institute, a non-profitable spiritual organization which is conducting these fantastic programs. So we all know that August first week is being celebrated as World Breastfeeding Week. So as a part of that, we are going to discuss breastfeeding, the connection bond, all the common myths and facts about breastfeeding. Today, we have a very eminent and who is who of obstetric and gynecology, Dr. Sarita Balerao. She is she did her MBBS and Masters from KEM, that is King Edward Memorial Hospital, and she is also a fellow of College of Obstetric and Gynecology, FRCOG from London, and she has vast experience in obstetric and gynecology, and she is a member of treasurer of Mumbai Obstetric and Gynecology Society, and she is very active as a president of the Association of Medical Women in India and chapter secretary for Indian Menopausal Society. She has a very excellent experience and she has delivered many lectures on national and international forums. And today's another speaker, distinguished speaker, is Dr. Purnima. She is a lactation consultant. Her passion in lactation counseling, and she has helped many mothers who is facing challenges with breastfeeding and all. She has many publications to her credit, and presently she is working as a physiotherapy specialist at Hamid Medical Center, Doha, since 2 years. She was previously an associate professor of at SDM Physiotherapy College, that is at Dharwad, for 20 years. We have two eminent speakers she has conducted many workshops on lactation management, on breastfeeding issues. Her passion for physiotherapy in obstetric and gynecology is well known. And she's been a lactation consultant for past. Welcome you all, ma'am, both of you, for this wonderful session.
Thank you, Dr. Pavan.
Thank you, Dr. Pavan.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So we all know that though a tiny seed has the potential, it holds the potential of becoming a huge banyan tree. The right environment in the form of fertile soil, sunlight, and adequate water is equally essential to manifest that potential. Similarly, the manifestation of great human potential lies in the highest quality of care provided through key ingredients of epigenetics, which we all know that nutrition and neurostimulation in a nurturing environment that shapes during the first 2 years of life is very essential. And breastfeeding, we all know, we call it as a liquid gold. So it is both a neurostimulation, a neuro exercise, and also a brain building nutrients. It contains all the brain building nutrients, and also it is a brain building exercise itself. So I would like to quote from Human Genome Project, which says that it does not matter whether your child is male or female, fair or dark skinned, tall or short, thin built or chubby, and it does not matter in which community he or she is born, and which part of the world your child is born, as 99.99% of the genetic material is same among any two human children on this planet. So this gives us the potential. What are the important factors like nutrition in the form of breastfeeding, which is a key one, key neuronutrients, which provides and also a neuro exercise by itself. I think it is a transformed brain, which can, it's an evolved brain, which can transform the society, family, and country at large. So with this brief introduction, I would like to go with an impact of nutrition. Take this example as compared to with the breastfeeding. So example of honeybee in the animal kingdom, you can see that the larvae which are fed on royal jelly contains a protein called rhyolactin. The larvae which were fed on this royal jelly for less than 3 days, it will become a worker bee. See, the mere difference in the diet, it will, a larvae's fate is being defined whether to become a worker bee or a queen bee, just based on the diet difference. So those larvae, which are fed on royal jelly for 3 to 6 days, will become a queen bee. And what is the difference between this worker bee and a queen bee? See the lifespan. Lifespan of a worker bee is just 6 weeks only. But the lifespan of a queen bee is up to 4 years, which we can't even imagine. And the queen bee like behavior, and it has a longer size, larger abdomen. All these features of queen bee is very essential. And all this difference between these two are based on the difference in the diet. So with this, I think we need to go on. I would like to invite Dr. Sarita Balero, our obstetrician, to speak on like, how are you, ma'am? Like, how are you celebrating this World Breastfeeding Week? What are your contribution to this week?
Well, every year we have many programs, especially programs for lay people on the breastfeeding. And this time, because of the lockdown, we are able to do only on social media and things. But we have many programs, and through the Federation of Obstetric Gynec Societies of India and through our Mumbai Obstetric Gynec Society, we have many programs to promote breastfeeding. And this is a very important week. And over the years, I'm finding that more and more programs are being done every year in this month, first week of August.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Purnima, can you add on like how you are contributing to the World Breastfeeding Week, because you are a passionate lactation counselor?
Yeah, true. But I am in a different country. So as ma'am says, we are in a very different situation this year because of COVID. So we don't have anything running as such, any public forums going on. It's mostly online. So there is, I would say that, in fact, yours is a program, Heartfulness Wellness. I should thank that we are doing something on this behalf. Otherwise, every year at SDM, we would do for almost a week, we would do public displays, we would have seminars, and we would have open one-to-one case discussions on for 1 week. We would do the same for almost all the years. Only here, it's a different scenario. So nevertheless, I thank this opportunity.
Yeah. Before going and discussing the common myths and facts, I would like to ask about your opinion about what about the breastfeeding during COVID times, because we are facing this challenging period and we are fighting with the enemy, which is invisible, unseen, and unpredictable. So what is your take on breastfeeding during? Every mother is now asking about, can I breastfeed? I'm COVID-19 positive. Can I breastfeed my baby? What is your take, Dr.
Well,
Sarita?
yes, this is it is a controversial area, and to some extent it depends how sick the mother is, whether she's asymptomatic COVID positive or she's or she's sick. Of course, if she's sick and she's breathless, then it's not an option. We cannot ask her to breastfeed. But otherwise, if she's if she's well, we do have the option, and we counsel them accordingly.
Yeah. Dr. Purnima, what are you saying now? Like if the mother is otherwise healthy and all, can she breastfeed?
Yeah, I second whatever ma'am just said. Because the CDC, because we go by the CDC, whatever new publications are up to date, because it's a new thing and not much of research is gone into. See, we are talking of two different things. One, the transmission through the breast milk. And as we know that the transmission through breast milk is very rare, even in other many diseases, even in HIV also, we say that 15 to 20% itself is transmissible. The rest, out of 100 mothers, the rest 70, 80 of them are safe to feed. So likewise, most of the diseases, even may be bacterial or viral, it is safe for breastfeeding. But when it comes to COVID, symptomatic versus asymptomatic, if we are talking of asymptomatic mothers, the only precaution what we are taking is about when you're holding the baby, the proximity. So you have to take precautions so as to the same, maybe extra precautions of washing the hands or maybe wearing a glove and not touching the baby's face, not touching any other surfaces. Basically, these precautions are to be taken, but breastfeeding, from my end, I would say that it is safer if the mother is asymptomatic.
She can also use a mask.
Yes.
Yeah, she can
use a mask. That's a
mask. Yes.
Because this precaution is more rather than transmission through the milk. This basically creates a risk for the child. And secondly, going on to the receptors of this COVID getting into the respiratory system, with whatever research says, newborns up to 3 or 5 years, they say that they are not susceptible for the infection. So going on those terms, we would say it would be safe from the neonatal or the infant side of the thing. Only the transmission is through the mother, which has to be has to be controlled.
Right. Yes, that's very true. And recent study from China says that even the breast milk contains the antibodies against coronavirus. So that may substantiate our supporting the breastfeeding even during these COVID times. Yeah.
And maybe if she has already developed the antibody antigen for that, that also goes through the breast milk. So it depends on which phase if she's passed through the acute phase, because now we just go by the serology tests. So if she has undergone the serology test, and if the antigens are already present in her body, it is better, because we classify them as active and post-active period. So if she's feeding in that period, I think it should be safe.
Yeah, as you said, with proper precautions, hand hygiene and mask, wearing mask and all, as the advantages outweigh the risks, I think we should even support breastfeeding even during these COVID times.
Yeah.
That's really fantastic. And with this, we'll just go to the common myths and facts which we encounter as a pediatrician when mothers come after delivery and all. So recently I had a mother, Dr. Sarita, a 20-day-old mother who brought a male infant. She brought to the clinic along with the grandmother. They came to me, and both are saying that they feel that the baby is not getting enough milk. And when I asked about her sleep and all, baby sleeps longer. She sucks her fingers and is not satisfied after feeds. After feeds, the baby is sucking her fingers and all. So they thought that the baby is not getting enough milk. And what they did is they recently started the baby on dual feeding, both the breastfeeding and also artificial feeds. And when I asked why, they said that they saw this attractive advertisement of a bony baby in a medical shop, which they usually say. And on examination, the child was otherwise active. A baby is weighing well, 3 kg, though the birth weight was 2.6 kg, and the position and attachment are all good. But the grandmother wants to know if there are any medicines to increase the milk supply. So both of them are really, they were not happy with the way the baby is getting enough milk or not.
So I think the first thing starts with reassurance and with counseling, and they must understand that it's a demand and supply. And the more the baby sucks, the more milk will be produced. It's a reflex. The more the sucking, the oxytocin hormone is released, which starts the milk let down, and prolactin causes increased secretion of milk. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that, yes, we do give galactogogues, and one of the things we give is plenty of water, because it's very important that they drink 3 to 4 liters of water per day. We also give other supplements, for example, there are, which are Tavri and things, which do increase the milk. But the main thing is to reassure the mother. And what will happen is that if they start giving top feeds, there will be a vicious cycle. They'll get into a trap, and then her own milk will go down slowly. So it is better that we encourage her right in the beginning to feed the baby and to use other parameters. Is the baby passing enough urine per day? How often does the baby wet the diaper? These are things does the breast feel empty after feeding? These things will then be able to help us judge whether the lactation is adequate.
Yeah.
Coming to the case, there is
how will you put it? Because the grandmother is attracted towards this formula feeding, she thinks that the formula is better than breast milk. How will you counsel her? How will you know?
I got the picture, which is because this is a very common picture we get to see in the hospital also. What I would like to know is why did she feel actually the baby is not getting? The first point we would like to confirm or maybe clarify is I would like to know why the grandmother felt on the first hand that the baby wasn't feeding well. One, it could be a cry, that is a baby crying continuously. So maybe she started feeling, even though the baby would have been wetting adequately, but because it was crying, the grandmother would have thought that maybe the mother doesn't have enough milk, and they would have started. So first thing is we need to clarify whether actually the mother is producing enough milk. So the pointer for the grandmother would be, for half a day, maybe for 2 subsequent feeds, I would like to ask them to observe how much the baby is wetting, only with the mother's milk. So we need to assure them or make them understand that these are some simple things. See, they don't have to understand a lot about breastfeeding, but what if they can understand, if the baby is just getting enough from the mother, then they don't have to go for artificial feeding. So
Right.
first thing is, not for many days, maybe in the coming day, the grandmother or the mother, both of them should not be using diaper for the baby, because we will not know the amount of urine which the baby is going to excrete. So we'll ask them just for 2 feeds, not to bottle feed, and with breast milk. And what is it, and how much the baby is, urinating. And if it is a very small amount, if they feel that the nappy or the cloth what she had used, not much is wet, that shows that the baby is not getting enough, considering the latch is proper and the positioning is proper. Secondly, we would also know that we can ask the grandmother to check, or maybe we will demonstrate the lady to see whether she is actually lactating well by showing her manual expression. If she is expressing quite well, and if she's feeling little fullness, because we are talking in the lactogenesis phase 1, where the mother usually feels the breast full. Only in the phase 2 and 3, she will not feel the fullness. That doesn't mean she doesn't have milk. But in this phase, we are talking of a 20-day-old baby. So the mother definitely will feel her breast being full. If she's actually not feeling that, then maybe she's secreting less. So these simple things, as to one, checking the baby, how many times it is wetting, and the gap between the feeds.
Yeah.
If the gap is very frequent, like maybe after half an hour itself, the baby starts crying again. And we are not talking of any other problems apart from crying, like, because it can cry for many other reasons. We are just considering the cry for hunger. So if the duration is very less, and if the baby is wetting less, this means that it also means that the mother may be having less milk. That is why they would have started the top feed. But the positive point here is, as long as the baby is wetting with the mother's milk, that itself is a key point for us. That with that point alone, we will tell the grandmother that it's a very good point that she is lactating. So how to improve that? Yes, definitely we can directly not to stop the artificial milk, because the quantity will reduce drastically. So we will ask the grandmother, if they're giving 2 top feeds and 2 breast feeds, we will ask to reduce it by 50% first, and increase the, even though the baby is feeding every 1 hour, it's okay to feed. See, we are not following any strict schedule here. If she says, no, actually we are supposed to feed after 2 hours or 3 hours, it's okay. Even after 1 hour you have to feed, she can feed. As long as the baby is getting the nutrition from the mother, and the more it suckles, because in this phase, the breast milk depends only purely on suckling. Because later it becomes in lactogenesis 2, it is guided by the hormones. But now it is just demand and supply. The more the baby empties the breast, the more she will secrete. So we will promote, and we will tell her, we will give her assurance that as long as you see the baby is passing and it is satisfied and it sleeps at least, and it is, you see that the baby becomes calm after taking sufficient milk. And if it's actually full, it will go away from the breast. It will not be showing any cues of hunger or opening the mouth. So if they can observe this, and if it is getting that through breastfeed, we can ask her to increase the frequency and later slowly wean from the artificial feed if she improves on the breastfeed. It's mute.
The checkpoints for adequacy of milk is, one is, as you said, more than 6 times per day of baby passing urine, and also the adequate weight gain.
Yes.
So initially, the baby they gain weight around 750 grams per month. Later, after 3 months, 600 grams per month. If they are going that way, I think we can reassure the mother with this.
Even to make them more reassured, if they can get the baby weighed even every day or every alternate days, just 30 to 40 grams a day. If the baby is gaining weight, that's a very good indicator. Then they can be rest assured that the baby is getting good amount of milk.
Yes, Dr. Purnima, I think this mother is really obsessed with the formula feeds. So how will you counsel, like, what breast milk contains, which formula doesn't have? Yeah. Can you counsel her so that the counseling will be impactful?
As we also see that we are talking all this so much, though we are humans, being on the higher of the hierarchy, so-called as mammals, but we are the most, uneducated or maybe illiterate when it comes to feeding. When you look around the nature, you see that so many of these mammals who helps them? Nobody helps them. And you see how efficiently they start to breastfeed and they wean without anybody's help. Likewise, I feel now that art is somewhere getting lost, because I feel now either we overrate it or we underrate it. Because when you see in cities, people for everything, the mother wants, they think feeding pillow is having all the accessories is going to enable breastfeed. But I feel it's the only requirement is the willingness. The willingness to be a part of that process is what which will take the process very smoothly, and not having too many adjuncts along with you and thinking that the breastfeeding, because they think eating this, drinking this, and having these accessories, having a nipple shield and all these things, they think that this is going to promote. It is not that. It is the lesser we make it a big event. It's a normal physiological process. It is like how if you go to many rural areas, where do they talk about all this? For them, the way the menstruation happens, pregnancy happens, they deliver, they breastfeed. It's like a step-by-step process which is supposed to happen by its own.
Yeah.
And there is no second option for them. When the baby is born, the people around them see to it that it is on the breast. Until and unless there are some challenging situations which we are not talking, but normally it is supposed to happen. So now what is happening is people read a lot. You cannot read the contents of the breast milk. When the breast milk is passing through, they don't see it.
Yes.
But what they see is the advertisements of the formula milks. They get attracted, and because of all the labels written, DHA, this is the.
Yes.
So they feel what is not in the breast milk, they are getting in the formula.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
what the bottle milk or what the formula milk advertisements don't say is what harm it is doing to the child, how much the baby is losing by not getting the breast milk. So the mother basically should know that the breast milk changes accordingly. It is not the same. Even if it's a preterm infant, if it's a full-term infant, and after every month, the breast milk starts changing with its micronutrients according to the nutrients what the baby requires, but not the formula milk. And where do we get the formula milk from? Either it is a fortified cow's milk.
Yes, cow's
so
milk.
We have these whey proteins and other proteins which are not necessary for the child. Even though they say they have filtered, do we know actually it is filtered? So there are a lot of hazardous effects. The baby is susceptible for allergies, infections, the immune system gets compromised, and a lot of oromotor challenges, because bottle feeding doesn't require all your oromotor muscles to be working.
Yes.
And so what happens is they have the dental issues because they are continuously fed, or the baby is on the pacifier. So all these will raise to a lot of oromotor challenge, even the speech. Many times you see the studies relating that the speech delay is there because of these issues. And secondly, the baby is away. The mother does not need to hold when you're bottle feeding. So anybody can hold, grandmother can hold, father can hold, any person in the house, even a maid can hold and give the bottle feed. So the main connection to the mother itself is lost when you're choosing to bottle feed. And secondly, the intestines, the gut system. It is not prepared, or it is not made to receive this kind of milk. It is basically, the flora is very much susceptible for human milk. But when we give artificial milk, that is when the babies start having constipation, and it's like a cycle, and that constipation leads to unsaid because they're not satisfied. See, what happens is when you're breastfeeding, so much of effort is taken, and then little milk goes in. So imagine the baby works a lot for the feed, but in bottle feed, it just directly gets into the mouth. So in 5 minutes, the feed is done. So it sort of seeks some kind of sensory attention, because the mother isn't holding, there is no warmth. So all this is missing. So the baby doesn't get the overall satisfaction of being fed. It is, you are providing something to the stomach, but that nutrition and the nurturing is lost in the bottle feed. So in many ways, in all the ways, if you look into, right from the benefits to the mother and benefits to the child, breastfeeding is the one-stop solution for everything. Preventing the diseases to the mother and the mother losing weight, cancer prevention, and the metabolic rate also increases because she needs to burn more calories to produce more milk. So there are a lot. If we go on talking about the intricate details, there is a lot to breastfeeding which people should understand.
Yeah. As you rightly said, breast milk is a living fluid, which even the best of the best formula feeds cannot even match that. It is not just a baby's food; it's much beyond that. It has all the anti-infective properties and all, as you rightly said. Even in Vedas, breast milk is equated as nectar. So that is what the importance of that. So yeah, Dr. Sarita, one of the common reason for our parents taking going for this formula feeds is mother saying that my breastfeeding is painful, and when you observe they will have these cracked nipples and sore nipples, and all these issues will be there. How will you address during your routine practice? How will you address these issues?
So I think the first problem why they get cracked nipples nipples is if the attachment is not, just as we help with position, we help with the attachment, and then we also give them some form of, they can apply a cream or a very simple Vaseline petroleum jelly after feeding, and they can wipe it off with a cotton wool if they just before feeding again. And one thing that I feel works very well is if they use a nipple shield. When they are not able to feed, they use a nipple shield. This nipple shield is made of silicone, and it can be it should be boiled or sterilized before use, and that helps the baby to suck and get a better latch if they are not able to get the latch. The other problem is that the breast should not be over full, and it should be sufficiently full for the baby to get a good latch. So with all these things, I tell them over a period of time, all these problems will settle. Of course, one has to see them because we have to rule out mastitis. When they say they're getting pain, if they're also getting fever, if there's a red inflamed area, then they may be localized or generalized mastitis. So I always tell them to come into the clinic and I see them first and I rule out that there's no mastitis, and then counsel them about the right way of breastfeeding.
It's mute.
Yeah, sorry. Another common reason is mother says that baby is not able to hold and suck the mother's breast. If you see, most of those nipples are like flat or inverted nipples. So I think you might have experienced these things in your practice. So how will you counsel these mothers?
Yeah, before coming to the inverted and flat nipple, I would like to add on to Dr. Sarita's statements. She rightfully said why people have cracked nipples, and this is a very serious problem because we only see the site of the nipple being cracked as a simple issue, but actually it creates kind of a barrier for the further breastfeeding process. And the only reason for a cracked nipple is improper positioning and the baby not able to latch. What happens is when the baby is suckling the nipple, the mother, because it is making some suckling movement, the mother thinks I'm feeding well. When I'm feeding well, why am I getting a crack? Because nobody teaches them in depth how it should be, what is a proper latch. So this is just one video I would just like to share just of the same baby.
I think from share screen you can.
Just a second. Yeah, right. Just a second. Yeah. So we are here talking about the picture. So in if you look at this, both are on the breast. So it is very easy that the mother get deceived. This one also appears to be feeding and this one no. But here when you look at the mouth opening, this is very small. So the same baby, we can. Just give me a moment. So this is at the day 2 in the ward when I was with the mother. She is telling me it's feeding, but it's not passing urine. So when you try to see, actually it is sleeping and it is just trying to do, you can see the dimple on the cheek. This is the indicator that the baby hasn't latched. When you see a dimple, that means the air is getting inside and it is trying to suckle on a straw, like how you have a suckle on a straw. The same movement you see here, and you see the lips are very close. So it is, and the areola is visible. Too much of areola is visible. So it is actually not. This is called as NNS, non-nutritive suckling. But even this is not continuous. So the same baby, we try to waken it more and try to stimulate orally, asked her to wash the finger and try to use her finger to the palate. And when it started suckling and it was awake, most of the times the mother complains that my baby sleeps when it is on the breast. So the simple techniques I tell them is use your palm, just use your thumb and just keep pressing. When you press hard, the baby, it should not get startled. So it should be just sufficient enough, or the sole of the baby's feet, just try to pressure, give a pressure, no need to pinch and no need to do that, or use the earlobes. So when you keep continuously doing that, and many times what they do, the mother tries to, soothe the head. I said, don't do that because this creates an extension reflex. So when you do that, the baby gets into extension. So I tell them not to hold the head, but use this, or any part of the bare body where you're just giving deep pressure. So when the baby is continuously awake and it is alert because it wants, and then it starts seeking. So when it starts seeking is when she should be giving the breast, and not letting the baby decide when to take. The mother should be the primary person to decide when she's giving the breast. So the baby's head is far away until it is ready and open the mouth fully. She's not supposed to give the nipple. This is a problem for the crack, because they just give the nipple because it is just opened less and it holds the nipple. So you see the same baby after, this is again the next day. So you can see the suckling becomes long and slow rather than a small suckle. So even my disturbance, I'm trying to pull the breast, still the breast is not coming out of the mouth. That means the suckle is really strong, and you can see the SSS suck swallow pattern. So you can see that 3-4 suckles and then swallow. So this is a very, very good latch, and of the same baby. After the mother was taught how to hold. Secondly, the holding position. Most of the times that the head goes into flexion, the baby can never get a good latch. No matter the mother has good milk, good nipple, it has to get into slight extension. That extension comes in. That extension comes in only when the baby is near to you. For example, if the baby is this way, that is the head into flexion, and this away, the other legs away, it cannot latch. It has to be tucked in. The leg side, the bum has to be inside. Only then the neck will go into, you can see, extension. That is, this is the grip we hold for the head. It is never to be held on the head thoroughly. So once this position is achieved, and anything what they use, a lady uses for support, it has to be that even if the lady leaves her hand, you see, initially, this is what you see in the books. This will not be got in the first initial days of feeding. You cannot get this position. The initial days, you need to first control. So she needs to hold the baby, or if she cannot manage, somebody will be holding the baby. Once the latching happens, only then you get the position, because the babies are very sensitive to positioning. And the second challenge is the hand. The second hand, this hand coming in the way. So when the baby comes in this, it is far already. So take the hand, tuck underneath, and you should see to it that you are the boss. You should not let the baby wriggle, move too much, because when it is moving, it will just hold what comes to the mouth. So the first thing is you be calm, relaxed, and when the lady holds it properly, when you get the positioning right, then the breastfeeding happens flawlessly. Otherwise, too many people, too many grasps, somebody telling, no, don't hold like that, hold the breast here, hold the breast, because all this leads to confusion and panic. Once that mother is panicked, it is already transmitted to the baby. So she needs to be in her own space, because everybody likes to give opinions and solutions. It doesn't work that way. She needs to understand that she is a mother and she needs to find solutions. You cannot spoon feed her everything. Just give her the tips and let her learn how it has to be done. So I don't advise too many people to be in the room when she's feeding. Just one person who is efficiently able to help her and only assist her, not try to take over the breastfeeding. Because many times, even as a lactation, every mother has taught me so many things. Initially, I would hold the baby for her because the baby would lose the grip when I would leave my hand. So eventually, I used to sit 45 minutes with her holding the baby. Then I realized I'm doing something wrong, because I'm not teaching her how to handle. I'm doing her job. That's when I have to know. So every mother, basically all whatever lactation experience, I give it to the mothers, because every unsuccessful breastfeeding experience is a challenge for me. That okay, why, what went wrong? So these simple tips told to her, and then you have to just be there to help her support. So yeah, coming to the cracked nipple, this is also one of the case. Why? Because of the breast engorgement. This was this lady, because see, most of the young mothers, their breasts get full, because we know different types of breasts. We are not talking of pendulous. The pendulous breasts are very deceiving, because we will not understand when they are engorged. But small breasts which are adhered to the chest, they get engorged very fast, like this one. So when you see here for this lady, uh, yeah, because she got engorged, what happened is, in the wards, the nurses gave her an inverted syringe. Okay, use it and pull the nipple out. What happens is, we have to understand this thin line between when to use the syringe. I'm not against syringe, but I'm definitely against the improper usage of syringe, because I'm really against it when it is being used carelessly in the wards. Syringe is not built for the breast. Yes, we are using it, so people don't know the difference, how to use it or when to use it. What they do is, if the breast is severely engorged like this one, if you see here, if it is full up till the areola, when you keep the inverted syringe, what happens? Milk will not flow. The syringe will just pull the nipple. It will not get the milk out. So what should people learn is, if you want to use a syringe, slightly massage the areola in such a way that the areola gets supple first. Because once the areola is soft, only then it will allow the milk to come out. It is like, the room is filled with 10 people, and the one who is at the door, he is holding the hands and he's blocking the door, and you're pushing from behind. If you're pushing from behind, it's like many times you see people hold the breast and they try to express. No milk comes out, even if they engorge in the engorged breast. Why? Because you have not cleared the areola and you're trying to push from behind. So the only thing, with whatever I have been working with moms, it works like magic. Just spend some 5 minutes or 10 minutes around the areola, and all the problems will be sorted out, whether be it feeding the baby or using the syringe or using the breast pump. You can use any of these provided the areola is supple. Never use any of these, even the hot water bags. Yes, it is good to an extent, only for pain relief. But we also understand that hot water causes more blood flow and more venous blockage and more lymphatic blockage. So as long as the milk is not expressed on the breast, we are not helping the lady. So this, even for inverted nipples, we are using syringe for two reasons. One, when the nipple is retracted, and when there is too much engorgement. But if we are not using carefully, this is actually the picture of my patient, because she was using it continuously, because the nurse told, keep pulling it. So she has pulled so much that she has lost that nipple, and she will not have any sensation further. So it was a very big challenge for her. So I had to use the other side of the breast. She was using just petroleum jelly there, as ma'am was mentioning. But the challenge is not to let the breast stay empty. If you're not able to feed on that until it is healing, it has to cyclically be expressed. If you're feeding on only one side, the other side after 2 hours has to be methodically for 20 minutes expressed out. And nipple shield can be used once you feel that the pain is, see, ultimately it's not always about the baby. We also have to look into the comfort of the mother, because many times we keep hearing the mother-in-law saying, why, even if there is little pain, you are a mother, you are supposed to bear it. Feed the child. So what happens is the focus goes only to the child. I always feel there should be a balance. She is a creature. She is also a living human being. If she's having too much pain, I would definitely, yes, even if 2 days she has to rest herself, yes, give her. Just go with the case. We cannot have one gold standard rule for a cracked nipple. If she is able to take the pain, no problem, let her feed. If she's really not able to take the pain, give a break. 2 days, let the baby be on top feed or maybe expressed milk. But after that, she will definitely come back. By doing that, by showing that concern, she really is willing to go through this process. But by trying to force her to do something, most of the times people start weaning from breastfeeding. They say, no, enough. They don't want to breastfeed. So usage of the syringe is what before we wind up on this case, I definitely would, because you can see this edges. They are not made for the breast. It's basically a syringe just to use it for the purpose of injection. So we should see to it that none of this area should be actually causing more trouble and leading to a crack. So coming to this, and with the, yeah, so I am basically, personally, I'm against the usage of syringe, but if we are using, use it only if you're teaching the lady how to use it. So for both of these reasons, the simple rule is the milk has to be emptied. How? Either through baby or through expression. There is no alternative to this. So coming to the question, I think you were asking Dr. Pawan regarding the nipples. We just need to know the 3 types of nipple. First, the mother needs to know, because not all nipples are retracted, because we get attached to just one term, like, retracted nipple or an inverted nipple. We just need to know the difference between these 3. If you can see here, a flat nipple, if many a times in the picture, when you look at it, yeah. So in this picture, if we see, yes, it is a kind of, again, we have grades in retracted nipple, grade 1 to up till 4. So I have been able to help mothers with grade 1, max 2, but 3 to 4 is very difficult. Either I have gone with the nipple shield, because it is very difficult for those, in this case, the nipple doesn't come out, sorry. In this case, it doesn't come out at all. And what I bank upon is the areola. If the areola is supple enough that if you pull the areola in front, and if it can become like a cleat, not a nipple, at least like a cleat, and it again goes on the baby's suckling reflex. If the baby's suckle is good, it can still latch on the areola. But it is a very skillful, coordination. But in some mothers, you don't get the areola, so supple, and it is very firm. In that case, if the nipple is retracted, you cannot get the baby latched in those cases.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
we have to
That's
use,
right. That's
yeah,
very
there we have
elaborative
to-
one. Yeah.
There we have to use the nipple shield. That is provided if still nipple, because we have to determine if the pores, the opening on the nipple are present. Many a times they are very less, hardly 1 drop comes on. So in that case, we cannot help much. But even with the retracted nipple, if the milk is flowing in, then nipple shield, proper usage, because it has to be sterilized really, because anything we are using externally is a major cause of infection. Many times people do not know how to use it. So if you teach them how to use the nipple shield appropriately, that can be done. But coming to flat nipple, it appears there is no nipple. But on massage, on stimulation, if the nipple comes out, it is normal, though it appears to be flat initially. So flat nipple is not a problem. Inverted nipple is also not a problem. Inverted nipple, when the nipple is inside, but on stimulation, it comes out.
Yes.
So that's also not a challenge. The only challenge we have faced, and we always have failure, is retracted nipples. In the retracted nipple, this is the only challenge where we face, and many a times they are told in pregnancy to keep massaging it, to keep pulling it out. But yes, it can be done, but we cannot overdo it, because anything you do in pregnancy cannot stay forever until she delivers. In fact, overdoing it can stimulate, more of uterine contractions.
Yes.
They can do it, but not. See, many of them think that if they do it, it will stay. It will not stay. Even the retracted nipple, in 5 minutes, it gets retracted back.
Will go. Yeah.
Yes. So one more transition, what you can do, put the baby on nipple shield. It starts suckling. Milk also is flowing. In the same position, do not disturb anything. Remove the shield and put the baby on the breast.
Okay. Yeah.
So this transition has helped many mothers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Purnima. I think that's a fantastic demonstration of good positioning, attachment, and all. That's really thankful to you. And I think the root cause of all the breastfeeding problems, as Dr. Sarita and Dr. Purnima was telling, is a good positioning and good attachment and effective suckling. All these 3 should be there. So with this, Dr. Sarita ma'am, what is the role of maternal nutrition on quality of the breast milk? Because for the entire 6 weeks, 6 months exclusive breastfeeding time, the baby is relying only on the mother's milk. So is there an effect of maternal nutrition on the quality of the breast milk which she produces?
Her video is
Yeah.
Send interview.
Yeah, Dr. Purnima, I think if we can take like, what is the maternal nutrition, role of maternal nutrition on the breast milk?
Yeah, we have what you say, a lot of debates on this, because I myself have a lot of questions, and looking at many people, I have understood that yes, though we may have some research, but still there are some questions which are never answered, because I have seen both the class of mothers, where the one who is absolutely not bothered about the nutrition, or maybe she's coming from a class who cannot afford a well balanced nutritious diet. I have been
Right.
watching such moms, and I have been watching moms who have been carefully designing their diets. But
Yeah. Dr. Sarita ma'am is here.
yeah,
Madam, would you like to like what is the effect of this maternal nutrition on the quality of the breast milk she produces? Because the research study states that across the globe, the breast milk which is produced is not the same across all the world, like compared to urban, rural, and different countries. So how are you
Yes,
going
that
to?
is very true. And, counseling regarding nutrition is very important. And they must consume a healthy diet with good amount of green leafy vegetables, amount of protein and things. Many of our traditional foods are also there, but sometimes they have a lot of ghee and a lot of oil in them, which is not required. But basically, they should have a good balanced diet with lots of fruits and vegetables and proteins and nutritious things. Then only the breast milk will be very good. So I always tell the mother that diet is very important. They require 300 extra calories in pregnancy. They require 500 extra calories during lactation. So this we have to take care of. And it's very, very important to tell the mother that this is a great way of, shedding, using up your calories, because they are so concerned about, putting on weight and doing postnatal exercises. And I tell them that if you breastfeed well, you're using a lot of calories. It's excellent. It's like a whole workout for you. So then, that helps them to motivate. So I think another important point I'd like to add is that our counseling must involve not just the pregnant mother, but we have to counsel the family. As Dr. Purnima said, it's very important that the whole family is involved, and especially decision makers like mother-in-laws and grandmothers, they must be part of the process, because they tend to dictate and they tend to take control, and they feel that, the moment the baby cries, something is wrong. And crying is a way of expressing itself. And a baby is crying maybe because the baby is hungry, maybe because the baby is uncomfortable, maybe the baby is is wet. So they have to be sensitized to this, that, not every cry doesn't mean that the baby is hungry.
Yes, that's very true. Would you like to add, Dr. Purnima, about the diet?
yes, I totally agree with what ma'am is saying. Coming to the ethnicity, yes, I have observed both the class set of people, as I was telling earlier. One class who doesn't bother about nutrition and who cannot afford nutritious or well-balanced diet, and the other class who is having a well-planned, right from the pregnancy, they have been on a well-planned, balanced diet. But I haven't seen personally correlation to that they can feed well, or this lady, the one who is on a balanced diet, can generate more milk compared to this lady who is actually not having a well-balanced diet. I have somehow found that maybe it is age-related, genetic-related. I don't know. I don't have a specific answer. Even though we know that these are the foods which promote or maybe increase milk production, but I haven't seen them directly working, because many of my cases, ladies whom I have seen with delivery, they are from a very affluent class, having everything, but still it is a challenge when it comes to breastfeed. Yes, we can always call these foods as promoters. Yes, they can be like a supplements, like it will help you to increase, but I cannot definitely guarantee that yes, you eat this and you will have good amount of milk. And
Right.
we have a lot of cultural background to our eating habits. So, and it is very much what you say, limited to the states and the region where we are looking into. Basically, you need to study that before talking to them. And as ma'am said, in our country, or maybe in some other countries also, pregnancy is never a personal issue. It is always a social issue. So I can never, I have to say that I have spoken to people who are, having PhD holders. But ultimately, when I talk to her for 1 hour, she tells me last line, ma'am, can you please tell the same thing to my mother-in-law after speaking to her 1 hour? Then
Yeah, yes.
from then on, because she was educated, I was talking to her. From then on, I decided whether you're educated, non-educated, doesn't make difference here.
Yes.
Until somebody is in the room, I don't talk to the lady everything. I said,
Perfect.
let your husband come in, let your mother or mother-in-law. And you know what? The mother doesn't have questions. So many questions the mothers and the mother-in-laws have for me. Why are you doing this way? We were not doing this when at our time we never had this. So I have to patiently answer to their questions. Only then they believe what I'm telling and they will follow. Otherwise, they say, listen to her. Once she is out of the room, you just listen to what we say.
Yes,
So
yes,
this
yes.
is this is how it goes. So I understand totally. See, because where I'm from basically Karnataka, so I know what they think. I know and the language and the way they think. I've also been grown in a joint family, so I know what goes around. So basically, I target that point. I don't come
Correct.
to the point. I have to get into their brain to let them understand. And coming to foods, I always feel that we can give a suggestion, but people won't guarantee, that if I eat this, will I have? No, I cannot. Eating ghee. See, these cultural things were made up in those times where a lady had a different life. She was
Right.
in a mother-in-law's place where she wouldn't get good food to eat. So this pattern was formed in the mother's place so that she's overfed with calories, so that she takes the extra calories and goes to the mother-in-law's place,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So that was the intention, not that you have too much ghee and the ghee will produce more milk, not that you have drink too much milk and that will get transferred into your breast. So these habits formed for this reason, but we don't understand that now. People don't work anymore. We have machines doing our thing, but still we want to stuck to that diet. And you see how much the mother puts on weight, 20 kgs.
Yes.
Many times I've seen a lady put up more than 20, and she says, why my baby is 2.8? I said, because
Yes.
you have eaten excessively.
Yeah.
Your baby doesn't take everything what you eat. So there is a lot of what you say gap between what are the practices and what actually is, that is the scientific knowledge. So
Yeah.
we are still very lagging behind when it comes to understanding the facts. We still are following a lot of myths.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, as you rightly said, the foods, this is something interesting I would like to say. The foods the mother eats flavor the mother's milk, it seems. So the baby actually experiences a new taste at every feed. At every feed, she experiences. And there are studies also done where
Yes.
breastfeeding could even encourage healthier eating. As the research says that breastfeed babies of moms who have these fruits and vegetables regularly, these babies, they enjoy eating these foods during that weaning period also, it seems. So that is something really interesting. Every feed, as whatever the mother takes the nutrition that flavors the mother's milk, like a flavor bridge. The formula, however it tastes the same every time, right? So that is another thing. So yeah, I think that we are running short of time. I would like your crisp answers about these short myths, which are very commonly seen. Dr. Sarita ma'am, very crisp and clear answers I would request you from you, both of you. Our prelactial needs are necessary because every grandmother feels that the first 3 days the milk won't come and the prelactial feed should be given, like janbutti, honey and all. Dr.
No,
Sarita.
I don't think it's required. When the baby is born, first thing, the baby is born with stores. Second thing, the stomach capacity is very small, so it requires hardly 4 ml of milk, and the initial suckling is enough to start the first watery colostrum. This colostrum is excellent to line the gut. It's very good for immunity, and so I don't think any prelactial feeds should be given, and I think the mother should be encouraged to breastfeed and put the baby to the breast within an hour of delivery.
Excellent. Dr. Purnima, how about cesarean section born babies? How early they need to breastfeed?
It's the same formula. I don't like to differentiate between, yes, there are some hormonal changes compared to a natural vaginal birth to cesarean, but you just put the baby within what is on the same day and keep promoting that. Even C-section ladies equally and very efficiently breastfeed without the need of top feed.
Yeah, Dr. Sarita, like we commonly encounter mothers that mother is on some medication or mother is suffering from some infections. They will simply stop the breastfeeding. Are there any really infections or any medications where the mother need to stop the breastfeeding, or is
See,
it only a myth?
there are very few medications which are really dangerous in pregnancy, and those situations are rare. But by and large, most medications are safe, and even the amount of medication which is secreted into the breast milk is really very small. So I think that they should continue breastfeeding unless they are on something which is really dangerous, like for example anti-cancer medications and some other medications. Then in those cases, for example, recently I had a patient who had ITP, that is thrombocytopenic purpura, and she was put on a medication and the breastfeeding had to be stopped for that. So there are these few medications which are dangerous.
Otherwise, rest of all, most of the infections or medications or which mother takes are really safe. But they need to consult their obstetrician regarding the same. Yeah. And Dr. Purnima, like night nursing, usually there's a myth from the grandmother. My grandmothers, they will not let the mother lie down and give breastfeed. Is that lying down position of breastfeeding is really a bad one? Will it leads to dental caries or ear infections later?
No, the why this myth has come up, the reason what I think is because when you're lying down, you do not have a count of time. So the mother can actually relax even the baby, because baby overfeeds and sometimes it sleeps with the milk inside the mouth.
Right.
So, and it can lead to aspiration or regurgitation. So this is the only reason where the mother has to look into, time her feed and then remove the baby from the breast and burp it and put the baby back, only for up to 2 months or so. Otherwise, it's quite safe. She has to just look into these aspects.
Right. Dr. Sarita, a mother will not get pregnant if she is breastfeeding. That is again a common query. Like if I'm breastfeeding, is it a foolproof method that they won't get pregnant again?
Well, no, not entirely. When they are exclusively breastfeeding and when the frequency of feeds is 10 to 12 feeds per day, that is in the first 6 weeks and the first 8 weeks, then it is unlikely. It works very well and it causes lactational amenorrhea and it works well to prevent a further pregnancy. But as the frequency of feeds reduces, as the weaning starts, then lactation is not a contraception method at all, and we must advise other contraceptives.
Yes. Dr. Purnima, another thing, like, as you said, that culture has changed. Now everybody is going for work and all. Like a working mother, she thinks that she can't breastfeed. She will go for formula because she's working. She has to join her work back. What do you say?
Yes.
That?
Yeah, I would like to just emphasize on 2 points. One, she can definitely, she already knows when she's about to start the work. So she can start the habit of expressing even when she's exclusively breastfeeding at home, so that the breast gets used to that excess amount of milk. So this milk can be stored in the refrigerator, and before feed, around 1 hour, it has to be thawed out, and you don't have to boil it or heaten it up. Just the room temperature it has to be, and the baby can be fed. So the freshly expressed milk can be kept up to 6 hours or 8 hours in the fridge and then fed without any harm. Secondly, she can ask, because now the rules are different, at least 6 months the government is giving them off, so she can rightfully avail it. And I would suggest, even in some workplaces where they say that no, we can't give you leave, if she can afford loss of pay, that's the best she can give for a gift she can give for a baby. Take 6 months, until 6 months she has to be off from the work if possible. Only in those conditions where she says no, I have to work, she can express the milk and maybe take 1 hour off early, or maybe if her house is nearby, she can come at least give one feed and then give the express feed, so express milk for the rest of the times. Only thing is we should counsel the family not to go for bottle feed just because she starts to work. We can work our ways out to give the breast milk up to 6 months.
Right. And how about feeding the twins? Because there is a likelihood that one child they feed and other child they go for formula feeding and all. Is it advisable for that? Like
no,
feeding
absolutely.
twins? What do you say?
Absolutely no. Even with twins, the first thing is we would like the confidence of the family. We would like to take the confidence of family in first before going further. The breast has the capacity, when the body can develop twins in the womb, it can also develop sufficient amount of milk for the twins to be fed. So first thing is you have to reassure the mother and the family that this can happen if they support her. It cannot be happening only with the mother alone. And there are various positions. She can use double football hold, and she can do alternate feeds. Sometimes you know that when one is feeding, the other one also gets up. So either in the initial day, she can do cross cradle for both. That is because they are not moving too much. But once they start moving, she can use, the best is the clutch hold. That is using the position where you adequately support on both the sides, and the baby is held. So here both of them are not interfering with each other, and she can feed. Only thing is she needs extra calories. She needs to manage her nutrition well to have adequate supply of milk, because she's not handling one child, she's handling two. So she needs to have adequate water and good nutrition and good sleep, because within too much of stress, the body starts acting reverse. If she's
I
not
think,
relaxed,
yeah, one of the problems is also that they don't get enough rest in between the feeds when there are twins, you know. That is a little bit of a challenge, because one will get up, then the other will get up, and then the mother doesn't get much of a break.
true. So in that case, maybe what she can do is, when one is feeding and one is sleep, she can
Express.
express and keep,
Ah.
and then they can give cup feed, not to give bottle feed, because people think bottle feed is easy. Just to keep the cup to the mouth, and then the baby should suckle it. I know it's difficult, it's challenging for people to say, because they say the milk will fall. So, but at least you have to have a balance. The mother needs some sleep also. I think the video is paused of Dr. Pawan.
I think the net, his net is a little bit down. Yeah.
Yes. Now I think he's.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, are you able to hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. With that, I think we can conclude. For a successful breastfeeding, a well-motivated and confident mother, and also the family support, as you all elaboratively discussed, and a prop or obstetrician or a lactation consultant, their role is immense. And a healthy baby. All these three together forms the four pillars. And all these four, like, you know, grandmother, family support, well-motivated and confident mother, and a motivated and, you know, energetic, passionate professional, and also a healthy baby. All these four pillars are needed for successful breastfeeding. So with this, we can just conclude. Meanwhile, I would like to share what are the programs the Heartfulness is doing when in this area of mother and child. So we have these family connect programs. All the Heartfulness webinar series, it is being conducting these workshops. There is a vow those people who are about to marry and to understand, is also for those people who are infertility, where the infertility is there. Things is during that 9 months of pregnancy. We all know the importance of these first 1,000 days, and in that the first beautiful beginning holds from the joyful pregnancy, the first 9 months of pregnancy. And once the baby is born, there is another workshop called Joy of Parenting. All these four modules, right from the, you know, it's like a life cycle approach. This Family Connect program is being conducted by Heartfulness series. And yeah, so I will request you, already Snehal welcomed you. I think we welcome you to the Heartfulness Institute, which is the headquarters even at Hyderabad at Kana Shantivanam. That's the biggest meditation center where almost 1 lakh people can sit and meditate. Recently inaugurated by our President of India, Dr. Ramnath Kovind. So to know more about this, this is a website, our website. Connect deeply with the Heartfulness, which is a non-profit organization and it's a spiritual organization, which is there. It's present in almost 170 countries. So you can connect through login to your heart. There is an app called Hearts app, where you can, from the comfort of your home only, you can take sittings and all. There is a beautiful magazine, Heartfulness magazine. And this Heartfulness practice and all these things, as we from the Heartfulness Institute, we have been conducting a program called Divya Janani for Anganwadis and A&M workers to empower the mothers, the rural mothers, about this breastfeeding and all these issues. So that program is going in a big way in association with government of Telangana and all in Telangana. And moreover, all the other programs are being focused, the beautiful beginnings and all, empowering the mothers during this first 1,000 days, which are the real foundation of life. So, and the relaxation technique, the Heartfulness relaxation technique, which we are teaching the mothers, during our ground practice at the ground level, that is really helping the mother to be at her own pace. She is very much relaxed, and she is feeding the mother with all the positive vibrations and all. She is very much comfortable, and that all these things are of a positive effects on the mother and child duo. So with this introduction about the heartfulness, I think there are heartfulness to different programs. So with this, I'll conclude the session. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarita, from the bottom of it, and Dr. Purnima. We really thank you for being on this program. Really enlightened. You have taken your precious time. I know how precious your doctor's times are. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, we are glad to know about the programs what Heartfulness is doing. And being an NGO, it is quite a challenge to have a lot of programs under one umbrella. It's nice. So we wish you all the best, and thank you for making a part of us.
Yeah, it's really wonderful experience for us too. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.